The fluorescent lights hummed softly above the sterile quiet of room 214. Machines blinked in steady rhythm beside Harold Benton's bed, their green and yellow lines marking a life suspended somewhere between presence and absence. The air smelled faintly of disinfectant and cold metal. For 6 months, Harold had been lying there, breathing, but not truly living. Outside the window, the evening light stretched long and pale, fading into the gray of another unnoticed day. And then, out of nowhere, the door creaked open. A soft white blur slipped through, silent as a sigh. Dr. Alex Kim looked up from his clipboard, expecting to see a nurse, but froze mid-breath. "What the?" he whispered. A white cat, its fur almost glowing under the hospital lights, trotted calmly into the room. No collar, no tag. Its tail flicked once as it leapt onto Harold's bed, as if it belonged there. Alex's first instinct was to call security or shoo it away. Hospitals had strict sanitation rules, but something in the stillness stopped him. The animal seemed utterly focused, its blue eyes fixed on Harold's face. Whiskers, though no one knew that name yet, sat beside Harold's chest and reached out one paw, gently touching the tube of the oxygen mask. The gesture was oddly deliberate, almost human. For a second, the machine beeped faster, then slower, as if responding. Alex's heart skipped. "That's not possible," he murmured, taking a hesitant step forward. The cat didn't flinch. Instead, it leaned closer, its paw now resting softly on Harold's arm. The sight was both eerie and tender. Alex had seen hundreds of patients, witnessed death, grief, and the strange stillness that followed. But never this. Never an animal acting like it understood something no one else could. For a fleeting moment, Harold's eyelids fluttered. It was so faint that Alex almost convinced himself he imagined it. But the cat didn't move. Its steady gaze seemed to hold the man's fading soul in place. "Hey, buddy?" Alex's voice softened, unsure whether he was talking to the cat or the unconscious man. The heart monitor gave a faint uptick, then steadied. He blinked in disbelief. Maybe it was a coincidence. Maybe static or air pressure or something. Yet deep down, a strange warmth crept into his chest. Something he hadn't felt since losing his own father 2 years ago. Outside, the hospital corridor remained indifferent. Nurses walking, phones ringing, life continuing. But in room 214, something had shifted. The machines hummed lower, the light seemed softer, and the cat remained perfectly still, its paw on Harold's wrist. Alex took one careful step closer, eyes wide with disbelief. Just as the monitor made a sharp sound, breaking the silence, something had changed, and it was only the beginning. Morning sunlight crept into room 214, painting the walls in shades of pale gold. The cat was still there. Whiskers lay curled up on Harold Benton's chest as though he'd chosen that spot as home. Dr. Alex Kim hadn't slept much. He had stayed late, reviewing Harold's vitals again and again, trying to explain what had happened the night before. The oxygen flow had faltered for nearly 30 seconds, yet Harold's pulse had steadied, not weakened. It made no sense. No record of disturbance, the machine logs said, but Alex knew what he'd seen. A cat touching a dying man like it understood mercy. When Nurse Lila Thompson entered, balancing a tray of medication, she stopped short. "Dr. Kim, why is there a cat on Mr. Benton?" Alex rubbed his temples. "That's what I've been asking myself since last night." Lila crouched near the bed, studying the white cat with a cautious smile. "He's peaceful, isn't he? You ever seen anything like this?" Alex didn't answer. He was too busy noticing that Harold's color had changed. Just slightly, but enough. His skin wasn't as pale, and his breathing sounded deeper, more rhythmic. Hospital policy was clear. No animals in patient rooms. But as Lila reached to lift the cat, Whiskers opened his eyes, stared straight at her, and let out a low, warning meow. She froze. "He's guarding him," she whispered. The words sounded foolish, yet neither of them laughed. "Let's just give it a minute," Alex said quietly, his rational mind losing ground to something older, more instinctive. As the morning wore on, Alex returned to his office, But his thoughts stayed in room 214. Harold Benton had been comatose for 184 days. His daughter, Clara, hadn't visited since week 3. No one else came. Sometimes Alex wondered why he still bothered to check on him personally. Maybe it was guilt, or the echo of his own father lying in a bed not unlike Harold's. Tubes and monitors replacing words they'd never said. He'd been a doctor then too. Just not a son when it mattered. By noon, the cat had moved again. Now sitting on the bedside table, eyes fixed on Harold's face. Something about that gaze unsettled everyone who saw it. It wasn't curiosity. It was recognition, as if the animal knew him. Alex found himself lingering by the door, clipboard forgotten, heart beating in a strange rhythm of hope and disbelief. Then, as the clock ticked past 1, Harold's hand twitched beneath the sheet. Not much, just a finger, a small motion but real. The heart monitor flickered once, sharply, and Whiskers, still watching, gave a soft, approving purr that sent chills down Alex's spine. Something inside that silent man had stirred, and neither science nor logic could explain why. The rumor spread through St. Mary's Hospital faster than any official memo could. By afternoon, half the nursing staff had whispered some version of it. The man in 214 moved. The cat brought him back. Dr. Kim's patient might be waking up. Alex hated gossip, but even he couldn't deny that something extraordinary was unfolding. He stood outside Harold Benton's room with his coffee growing cold, staring at the closed door. Inside, the faint rhythm of machines continued, but there was something else now. An invisible current in the air, a sense of waiting. When he finally entered, Whiskers was sitting upright on Harold's lap like a sentinel. The man's hand, the same one that had twitched, rested near the cat's fur. "Morning again, Mr. Benton," Alex said softly, checking the monitors. Everything looked normal, oxygen level steady, heart rate regular. But when he leaned closer, he caught it. The faintest flicker beneath Harold's eyelids. His rational mind listed the possibilities: random nerve activity, muscle spasms, involuntary reflexes. Yet deep inside, something whispered that this was different. Nurse Lila joined him moments later, her eyes wide. "It's true then," she whispered. "You saw it." Alex nodded, though part of him wished he hadn't. "His vitals are stable. No explanation yet." She bent over the bed, her voice trembling. "He's been gone so long. Maybe that cat's doing something we don't understand." Alex exhaled sharply. "Animals don't perform miracles, Lila." But even as he said it, he noticed the cat's paw resting over Harold's wrist again, just like that first night, and the man's pulse quickened slightly. Later that day, Dr. Helen Avery, the hospital director, appeared in the doorway with her usual air of authority. "Dr. Kim," she began, "I've been hearing some unscientific stories about your patient." Her tone was half reprimand, half curiosity. Alex straightened. "I'm documenting every change, but I assure you, nothing supernatural is happening here." Helen's gaze drifted toward the cat. "Then remove it. Immediately. I won't have stray animals contaminating ICU protocol." Her words sliced through the air, cold and final. Alex hesitated. "With all respect, Dr. Avery, I'd like to keep observing before we—" "That's an order," she interrupted, turning to leave. The door shut behind her, leaving an echo that hung heavier than her presence. Alex looked at Whiskers, who met his gaze with uncanny calm. "Guess she doesn't believe in second chances," he muttered. That evening, when Alex returned after his shift, the cage sent by administration sat empty. The cat was gone. Harold Benton lay motionless again, the room colder without that quiet companion. But just as Alex turned to leave, he noticed something on the bedsheet. One single white hair, gleaming under the dim hospital light, and for reasons he couldn't explain, his chest tightened with dread. Something about losing that cat felt like losing time itself. The next morning, room 214 felt hollow. The machine still hummed, the air conditioner still whispered, but the warmth that had quietly filled the space was gone. Dr. Alex Kim stood by Harold Benton's bed, reviewing the night logs on the monitor. No changes, no movement, just the same slow rhythm of a man caught between two worlds. The nurses moved in and out mechanically, replacing four fluids, checking vitals, but no one spoke. Everyone felt it. The strange absence. The missing heartbeat that wasn't in the machines but in the room itself. Any improvement? Nurse Lila asked, her voice subdued. Alex shook his head. Nothing since the cat was taken. She frowned, glancing toward the corner where the animal used to curl up. It's like he took something with him, she murmured. Alex gave a half smile, tired and defensive. Hope, maybe, but deep down he wasn't smiling. He'd spent hours trying to explain away what he'd witnessed. He replayed the footage from the hallway camera, hoping to find how the cat had entered. Nothing. No record, no door opening, just static, and then he was there. In the staff lounge, whispers continued. Some joked that the miracle cat belonged to the church next door. Others said it had wandered from a nearby house. A few swore they'd seen it sitting outside the hospital gate, staring at the entrance like it was waiting for someone. Alex tried to block out the chatter, focusing on his coffee, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something was unfinished. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the animal's blue stare, calm, knowing, and impossibly human. By noon, Sister Miriam from the volunteer ward stopped by. She had heard the story too. You removed him, didn't you? She said softly, her eyes kind but firm. Alex sighed. Hospital policy. Dr. Avery's orders. The nun nodded slowly. Sometimes rules protect us. Other times, they keep us from grace. Her words lingered like incense in the air. Alex tried to dismiss them, but his chest ached with unease. When she left, he found himself standing at the window, staring at the parking lot below, half expecting to see that white blur again. That evening, Claire Benton called for the first time in months. Her voice was cautious, detached. They told me his vitals changed last week. Is that true? Alex hesitated. There was a moment, but he's stable now. She exhaled sharply on the other end, a sound that was more pain than relief. I don't even know what I'd say if he woke up, she whispered. Alex wanted to tell her to come, to see him, but the words wouldn't form. When he hung up, the room felt smaller than ever. He turned off the light, ready to leave, but a faint noise stopped him. A soft thud, like something brushing the floor. He turned slowly. The curtain beside the bed swayed gently, though no one had touched it. And on the white tiles below, a single paw print glistened faintly, as if made of light itself. Dr. Alex Kim didn't believe in ghosts, but that night he couldn't sleep. The image of the glowing paw print replayed in his mind again and again. He had touched it, expecting water or dust, but it vanished at his fingertips. By dawn, he convinced himself it had been a trick of exhaustion, the dim light, or his own restless imagination. Still, something drew him back to the hospital early. Long before his shift began, the hallways were quiet, bathed in the blue of early morning. When he reached room 214, the air felt different, warmer, alive. And there, on the bed once more, lay Whiskers. The cat looked exactly as before. Pristine white fur, calm eyes half closed in sleep, its body rising and falling with each gentle breath. You've got to be kidding me? Alex muttered, disbelief softening into something closer to relief. He stepped closer, afraid the slightest noise would make the animal vanish again. But Whiskers didn't move away. Instead, he opened his eyes slowly and fixed them on Alex with a gaze so direct it felt almost like recognition. Moments later, Nurse Lila entered, balancing her clipboard. When she saw the cat, she gasped. You found him? Alex shook his head. No, he found us. She laughed nervously, but her eyes glistened. Dr. Avery's going to lose her mind. Alex shrugged, lowering his voice. Then maybe she should see what happens before she takes him again. Lila approached the bed carefully, noticing that Harold's fingers twitched again. Stronger this time, unmistakable. The heart monitor picked up a quicker rhythm, the steady hum turning into something vibrant, alive. By midday, the small hospital was buzzing. Alex avoided Dr. Avery's calls, claiming to be running tests. He wasn't lying, he was testing himself, his own boundaries of reason. He had placed his hand gently on Harold's shoulder, feeling the faint warmth return to the skin. "Mr. Benton," he said softly, "if you can hear me, give me something, anything." A long pause, then a shallow inhale escaped Harold's throat. Dry and faint but unmistakably human. Lila covered her mouth, eyes wide. "Oh my God. He's trying." Outside the room, Sister Miriam appeared again, holding her rosary. "He came back because he was called," she whispered. Alex turned sharply. "By who?" The nun smiled faintly. "Sometimes it's not who, but what. Love doesn't always wear the same face." Her gaze drifted toward Whiskers, who now rested at the man's side, purring like a lullaby. When Alex finally stepped back, his hands trembling, Harold Benton's eyes fluttered open for the first time in half a year. Just a sliver, a glimpse of life, but enough to send shock through every corner of the room. And as Whiskers lifted his head, those blue eyes gleamed calm, almost triumphant, as if the cat had simply been waiting for this exact moment. For a moment, no one moved. The machines beeped steadily, but the world outside that room seemed to stop. Dr. Alex Kim leaned closer, hardly daring to breathe. "Mr. Benton, can you hear me?" The eyelids fluttered again, then opened fully, weak, unfocused, but undeniably alive. Harold Benton blinked at the ceiling, his lips trembling as if forming words his body had forgotten how to make. Nurse Lila clutched Alex's arm, her whisper trembling. "He's awake?" After all this time, Alex's heart pounded. He checked the monitors, the oxygen levels, everything. Yet the data didn't matter. What mattered was the faint spark returning to the old man's gaze. Whiskers sat at the foot of the bed, tail flicking slowly, eyes watching with a kind of quiet satisfaction. Harold's head turned slightly toward the cat. His cracked lips parted, and a hoarse sound escaped. Barely a whisper. "Sam?" Lila frowned. "Who's Sam?" Alex hesitated. The name tugged at something he'd read months ago in Harold's file. A single note under family contact. "Son, estranged. No current address." Alex leaned closer. "Mr. Benton, can you hear me? Do you know where you are?" Harold's eyes moved sluggishly toward him, but he didn't answer. Instead, his gaze drifted back to the cat, a faint tear sliding from the corner of his eye. By afternoon, the hospital was in chaos. Dr. Avery demanded a full report, her tone clipped and disbelieving. "This is impossible, Kim." He was neurologically unresponsive. "Patients don't just wake up after 6 months." Alex nodded, choosing his words carefully. "I don't have an explanation, ma'am, but he's responsive and stable." Her glare cut through the room. "And the cat?" Alex hesitated. "He's still here." Avery's expression hardened. "Then remove it. For good this time." That evening, Alex sat alone in the dim hospital chapel, the only light coming from a stained glass window depicting St. Francis cradling an animal. He thought of his father again, how he died alone in a hospital bed, how Alex had been too late to say goodbye. He had told himself that medicine was about logic and procedure. But now, staring at the colors bleeding through the glass, he wasn't so sure. Maybe some things defied charts and data. Maybe life wasn't meant to be fully understood. When he returned to room 214, the cat was gone again. Panic twisted in his gut. But before he could call out, he noticed something new. Harold's eyes were open, steady this time. He was looking directly at Alex, his voice raw but clear. "Where's my son?" he whispered. Alex froze. He didn't know the answer, but he knew somehow that the cat did. The question hung in the air like a haunting melody. "Where's my son?" Dr. Alex Kim stood frozen, the sound of Harold Benton's fragile voice echoing in his mind. It wasn't just speech returning, it was awareness, memory, emotion. Alex felt the gravity of it settle deep in his chest. He swallowed hard and leaned closer. "Mr. Benton, your son's name is Samuel, right?" Harold's lips moved again, faintly. "Sam?" He left because of me. His eyes glistened, lost somewhere far away in a time before wires and silence. Alex noted the trembling hand, the shallow breath, but something told him this moment wasn't meant for medicine. What happened to him, Harold? He asked gently. Harold blinked, as if trying to pull the pieces together. He wanted to go west. Said he'd come back when I forgave him. His words broke into dry coughs. But Alex understood. It wasn't just a coma holding this man down. It was guilt. We had a fight over his mother's things. His voice cracked. He thought I'd forgotten her. Lila entered quietly, carrying a cup of water. She froze when she heard Harold speak. My God, she whispered, tears forming instantly. Alex motioned for silence as Harold sipped weakly, his hand trembling around the cup. The cat was still gone. But in that moment, it didn't feel like he was. Whisker's presence lingered somehow, like warmth left in a room after the fire has gone out. The heart monitor beeped steadily, almost rhythmically, like a metronome marking the pace of truth. Alex spent the rest of the afternoon listening more than talking. He learned that Sam had left home 25 years ago after his mother's death. A broken watch, a harsh word, a slammed door. Small details that had built a wall between father and son. He wrote once, Harold said, voice trembling. Said he'd named a cat after her. Whiskers. She loved cats. Alex froze at that. Whiskers. The same name. The same animal that had appeared from nowhere, as if drawn by memory itself. When Dr. Avery arrived later, clipboard in hand, she interrupted coldly. This patient needs rest, not storytelling. Alex turned sharply. He's not just talking, he's remembering. That's recovery. She sighed, unmoved. I want that animal removed permanently. I'll call animal control if I have to. She left before he could answer, the door slamming like a gavel. As the night deepened, Alex returned once more to room 214. The corridor lights flickered, and the soft hum of machinery filled the stillness. Harold was asleep again, but not alone. Curled at his feet, glowing faintly in the dim light, was Whiskers. His blue eyes opened as Alex entered, and in them shimmered something that made the doctor's breath catch. A reflection of forgiveness, and maybe of love finding its way back. Morning came softly, filtering through the blinds of room 214 in thin stripes of gold. Harold Benton slept peacefully for the first time in months, his breathing calm, his face less burdened. Whiskers lay beside him, his tail curled neatly, as if guarding not just a man but a story that wasn't finished yet. Dr. Alex Kim entered quietly, coffee in hand, still unsure what to make of what he'd witnessed. The logical part of his mind demanded data, yet every instinct told him this was something far deeper than medicine. He watched Harold stir and blink awake, those weary eyes finding his face almost immediately. Morning, Mr. Benton, Alex said softly. Harold smiled faintly, his voice hoarse. You stayed. Alex chuckled. Wouldn't miss this for the world. A moment of silence stretched between them before Harold spoke again. I was a fool, Doctor. My son. He sent me a letter once. I never opened it. His voice broke. I kept it in my desk for years, thinking I'd read it when I was ready. When I finally looked for it, it was gone. Alex leaned forward. Maybe it's still out there somewhere. Harold shook his head slowly. Some things you lose forever. Nurse Lila entered then, carrying a clipboard. You're awake and philosophical, she said warmly. Harold managed a weak smile. Just making up for lost time. Lila turned to Alex. Dr. Avery's been asking for you. Something about the cat situation again. Alex sighed, rubbing his temple. Of course she has. But before he left, Harold caught his sleeve. Doctor, he whispered, if you ever find that letter, would you read it for me? Alex nodded quietly, unsure why that promise felt heavier than any oath he'd ever taken. When Alex returned to his office, he found Sister Miriam waiting for him. She held a small, weathered envelope in her hand. In the quiet room, someone left this at the front desk early this morning, she said. No name, just your patient's room number. Alex froze. The envelope was old. Edges yellowed, writing faded. But the name was clear. Harold Benton. He turned it over. The seal was unbroken. Inside, something shifted. A single sheet of folded paper, untouched for decades. Alex carried it back to the room like a relic. Harold's eyes widened when he saw it. His trembling hands reached out, tears spilling freely. That's it. I'd know it anywhere. Whiskers sat up, ears twitching, watching the moment with uncanny stillness. Harold's thumb brushed over the seal, his breath shaky. Would you read it for me, doctor? Alex hesitated, then carefully opened the letter, the paper crackling softly. The words inside were short, written in the uneven scrawl of a young man. Dad, I'm sorry for leaving. I just needed you to love me the way Mom did. If you ever forgive me, you'll find me back where she's buried. I'll wait as long as it takes. Whiskers purred once, deep and low, as if he already knew what came next. Dr. Alex Kim stood by Harold Benton's bedside, the letter trembling slightly in his hand. The old man stared at it in silence, tears streaking down the creases of his face. He waited for me, Harold whispered, all these years, and I never went. His voice cracked with a lifetime of regret. Whiskers sat perched near the pillow, his calm blue eyes fixed on the frail man as if understanding every word. He wrote that 25 years ago, Alex said quietly. He might still be out there, but even as he said it, he wasn't sure if he believed it. Something's time didn't return. That night, Alex stayed long after his shift ended. He couldn't shake the feeling that the cat was leading them somewhere, that there was still one more piece left in the story. At one point, Whiskers jumped off the bed and padded toward the door, pausing to look back. What is it, boy? Alex murmured. The cat meowed once and continued down the hall. Against his better judgment, Alex followed. He trailed Whiskers through empty corridors and out the back entrance, where the cold night air bit at his skin. The cat moved with purpose, slipping through the iron gate that bordered the hospital grounds. Beyond it lay St. Mary's Cemetery, the churchyard resting place for the town's oldest souls. Moonlight silvered the gravestones as Whiskers padded between them until he stopped before a small headstone, weathered by time. Alex approached slowly, his breath fogging in the chill. The name carved into the stone made his stomach twist. Samuel Benton, 1977 to 2001. Alex froze. The cat sat beside the grave, its tail curling around the stone, eyes glowing faintly in the moonlight. He crouched down, disbelief washing over him. He's gone, he whispered. Whiskers turned his gaze upward, and for a moment, Alex could swear the world went utterly still. Not a breeze, not a sound, just that gaze, ancient and knowing. And in that silence, Alex felt something unspoken pass between them. A message meant not for him, but for the man upstairs. When Alex returned to the hospital, dawn was breaking. He walked into room 214, letter still in hand. Harold opened his eyes as if he'd been waiting. You found him, he said before Alex could speak. The words sent chills through him. How did you? Harold smiled weakly. I dreamed of him. He said it's okay now. Whiskers jumped back onto the bed, curling near Harold's hand. The monitor beeped softly, steady and calm. The old man's breathing slowed, but his expression was peaceful for the first time. He looked at Alex one last time and whispered, Tell him I'm coming home. The morning light spilled over the bed as Harold Benton exhaled one final, quiet breath. Whiskers lifted his head, eyes shimmering like glass, then slowly laid them closed. The sun had fully risen over St. Mary's Hospital by the time Dr. Alex Kim signed the final chart. The soft hum of morning life filled the corridors, footsteps, the rattle of breakfast carts, the distant echo of laughter. But room 214 remained still. Harold Benton was gone. His face, once marked by years of guilt and distance, now held a quiet peace. Beside him, Whiskers lay motionless, eyes closed, his small chest rising and falling in slow, steady rhythm, as if keeping vigil over the man he had come to save. Alex stood in the doorway, coffee in hand, unable to step inside just yet. When Nurse Lila entered, she froze at the sight. "He looks content?" she whispered, tears pooling in her eyes. Alex nodded. He made peace with his son. Somehow, Lila glanced at the cat and smiled through her sadness. "That little guy's not leaving his side, is he?" Alex shook his head. "No, he's done his job." They stood there in silence, watching the sunlight spill across the sheets. The heart monitor had long gone quiet, but in that silence, the room felt strangely full, alive with something words couldn't touch. A few hours later, as hospital staff began their routine, Sister Miriam came by carrying a small wooden box. "I thought this might be of comfort," she said softly, placing it on the bedside table. Inside was a single photograph: Harold, a young woman, and a boy with a kitten on his lap. The handwriting on the back read, "Our first whiskers, 1989. Alex stared at it, the realization washing over him like a tide. The cat in the photo was identical, the same white coat, the same blue eyes. "It can't be," he murmured, but Miriam only smiled. "Love doesn't die, doctor. It just finds new ways to return." Later that evening, after Harold's body had been taken away, Alex returned to room 214 one last time. The room was dim now, washed in the pale glow of twilight. Whiskers was gone. The bed was empty, the floor spotless, no trace left behind, except for a single white hair glinting on the pillow. Alex picked it up, rolling it gently between his fingers. "Goodbye, friend," he whispered, outside, near the hospital gates. A nurse later reported seeing a white cat walking slowly down the road toward the cemetery, tail high, moving with quiet certainty. No one saw it again after that day, but sometimes, late at night, staff swore they heard faint purring echoing through the halls. Soft, steady, and oddly comforting. Dr. Alex Kim never confirmed or denied the rumors, but every year on the same date, he placed fresh white flowers on a grave near the hill. One marked Samuel Benton, and a second beside it, newly engraved, Harold Benton, 1955 to 2023. And beneath both, someone had carefully etched a third line, "And Whiskers, who brought them home."